Okay, mic check. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome, welcome. I see everyone is here. Good stuff. Um, all right, is that a question, Ms. Powell? Right as we start.
You
What's
and a
happening?
statement as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the statements. I tried to upload the link for the laptop in the form, but it said that I can't upload anything.
Yes, because it was a class activity, and the class activity is now complete. I mean,
Okay,
has been complete. Right. Right. But nonetheless, we will go through it um
okay. So,
quickly today. Right.
and then my question,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, will we be using the softwares like Photoshop and stuff today? Because I was having a problem. Well, I am having a problem with my laptop currently, and
Mm-hmm.
I had messaged Mr. Neville, the number that you had given us,
Ah.
and he says that he's currently not in town, so he'd have to let me
Oh,
know when he will be. So
I
I don't
know.
think I can currently access
What
this
about
this
your classmates? Any solution, guys? We're all a team
as
here.
in share a laptop with my classmates.
No, no, no. Just like, like perhaps some of
Oh.
your classmates might have software, have access to the software. Um, I mean, I want to suggest that before
Sure, it's
suggesting
not
going
the
to the lab.
software is the problem, it's my laptop.
Oh, the laptop having trouble. Yeah. So you're gonna need some help with it. Jano. Any luck with the lab techs at the lab?
Sir, what did you say?
Any luck with the lab techs at the lab?
Sir, I didn't go to any.
Okay. I know that nowadays most people use their own laptop, so we're not as friendly with the lab techs as we used to be when I was in school. But yeah, you're gonna need some technical help with that, definitely. Yeah, if it's yeah, but um, remember, we also have the recordings and the summary. And speaking of that, has anyone checked out last week's class on the website? Anybody checked out the summary? Give me a thumbs up or uh, okay, Matthew, you have? Right. Matthew, I also see that you have completed a task that was a requirement for the module, but about 60% of you have not completed this task. Are you guys wondering what task am I talking about?
Sir, is it the group assignment? I mean, the class assignment
And
with the
class
computer.
assignment. Oh,
With the
right. No, that's a
yeah.
that's a class activity, right?
Yeah, class,
No,
yeah.
it was even before. I gave you this one before even that class activity. You know what that one was? That one was for you guys to um add a profile picture, right? It's either we use a camera or a profile picture, right? And I see that some of us, well, most people choose not to use the camera, so therefore it has to be a profile picture. So I should be seeing a profile picture for everyone. That's how we keep the, make up a word here, the humanistical flavor in the module. All right, so I want all of you to grab a profile picture from whichever social media sites you may or may not use. Has to be you. It can't be a cartoon character or your pet or a symbol. It has to be you. I made one exception that you could take a picture with your pet, but not of your pet. If you have a pet. All right, so I want you guys to work with that stipulation. All right. All right. Question from Levy. Powell, your hand is still up. Yeah, go ahead,
Sir,
Levy.
I forgot to take it down.
Yeah. Go ahead, Levy. Oh, that was an error hand? Okay. All right. I see some profile pictures popping up. That's good. In the meantime, I want to show you guys this for those of you that may not have made it to the first class. Okay. Y'all seeing my screen okay? Give me a thumbs up emoji if you are. I don't see any thumbs up emoji. Okay, I see from one person. Good. All right, good. All right, so on the class website, there is this recording section that is pretty new. Well, the whole experience is new to you guys because this is the first time you're doing computing, right? But we've been doing this online experience from before COVID, actually. We were already kind of online, but we only used to use it during class, and then COVID hit and then became the norm. But anyway, there's this new feature. So when you go to class recordings, you can see that you have a listing here of the class recordings. It's just a simple recording. But the great new feature is that when you click on a recording, you actually get the video at the top and then a quick recap summary below. So this is pretty cool because, you know, you don't have to necessarily watch the 3-hour video. If you want to just know what was discussed in the video, you could just like search for a word or, you know, and it's not a transcript. It's actually an automated AI summary, which is a pretty cool new feature that Zoom has. This is the computing modules. So it only makes sense to make use of the technology. Right, Ian? All right, cool. So, of course, that doesn't mean that you should not come to class. Remember, we still have class activities that goes towards your participation grade. And speaking of class activity, if you scroll down a bit further, hold on, this hasn't updated. I need to check this. But anyway, if you scroll, yeah, hold on, let me refresh this. What's happening? Yes, okay, good. Right, so here is, if you scroll down on the class website, you have a listing of all the persons who registered for the class site. If I don't see a name here, that means that when you look on your, when I mark your work, you won't see a name on the site. So please click this little box at the top to register for the site so that I can have your information. Very important. If I scroll on a little bit further, notice that there is this new class participation window. And what this is, this keeps track of the persons that have participated. Whenever there's a class activity that pop up, remember, these will pop up randomly. You just have to happen to be at class. And when these activities pop up and you do them, I record that you did them. At the end of the module, I add them up and you get whatever activities you did, which is worth 10% of your grade, right? So that activity that we did last week, these were all the persons that submitted their computer specs. If I scroll a little bit further, you see class activity 1, and this is a learning process for all of us for learning about computer hardware for the purpose of architecture. Those of you that did the class activity, when you did the research, what I did was put a little description and a little tick to say recommended, okay, and not recommended, right? So those are the 3 things I gave to you. This is not a grade, by the way. It doesn't mean if I didn't recommend the computer you pick, it doesn't mean that you didn't get the participation grade. Once you participate in the activity, you will get the grade. All right. But the more important thing is that you can use this list to guide you on purchasing a computer for this year. Some persons here are looking to get a computer, and some of you may be planning to start begging for your computer at the end of this year and so forth. You can always jump back to this activity on the website. If you don't remember what's a good computer to get, just jump on this activity and look on some of the comments. Anything with a green tick means you're good to go. All right. All right, Joel. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Cool, cool. So all of us can learn from this activity. All right, so we are going to jump into the meat of the matter for this module today. In case you missed the first class, so we have 2 sessions. We have a working session, which is what we're all in now. That is happening now, which we discuss mainly theory stuff. Sorry, we have a theory session and we have a working session. It's a little different from what you have on your timetable, because your timetable show a 1 hour and a 3 hour, but I split it into a 2 hour and a 2 hour because 1 hour not really enough. Like, we would have only had like half an hour to talk about stuff now. So that's how we split it. So we come back again in the evening, late evening, to do the working session, right? The working session is where we dive into the software, into the Photoshop, into the Illustrator, into the SketchUp, and we actually do stuff. The morning session, sometimes I use it to kind of introduce you to what we're going to do later. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about pictures. Everyone here uses the computer, and everyone here pretty much have to print. Did you guys print for final year last year? You had to do hand drawings, right? So nobody printed like a large format sheet.
No, sir.
Right. But I guess you know that going forward, pretty much printing will be the bane of your existence for the next 3 years at CSA, right? I mean, you can still draw by hand, but chances are majority you will be printing. And yeah, that has its own challenges, apart, you know, because you have to find the money to print. You also have to like find a good location to print. But one of the most underrated challenges of printing is making sure that you know about sizes and resolution and DPI. And that is one of the first topics we're going to hit. And we're going to spread this out over maybe 2 weeks or so, depending on how quick we absorb that topic. So for example, we're going to jump onto the mirror board. So what we're going to do, if you want to follow along on the mirror board, you can just go to the website and click class whiteboard. I'm going to just jump onto the whiteboard now. And this is pretty much all the activities that we'll do for the entire module, right? This is our little virtual whiteboard space. So sometimes I will come here. Why does this read 0? Sometimes I will come here and I will write stuff on this board, and and sometimes we'll do some activities and so forth. All right, so this was actually our activity 1, but that got thrown off because the university kind of started weird in the week. But anyway, we'll get to this activity some other time. We didn't get enough time to kind of do our regular introduction. So I'm going to drop this over here. I will get back to that soon. Put this guy over here. Yeah, by the way, this is I think I had introduced myself last week. Yes, I did. This drawing here is actually a caricature that was done by one of my classmates when I was in CSA. And to this day, I still kind of use it in my lecturing. I don't know if that looks like me. I guess it looked like me at the time, right? I did, for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I did attend CSA a couple of years ago, not too long ago, I hope. I'm pretty much a computer guy. I use a lot of software. I'm always around the computer. This was kind of my setup during COVID. It was kind of crazy, and I have a similar setup now, but it's a little bit more permanent because the module is now online, right? Yeah, so that was me when I was at CSA. I used to haul these computers upstairs. The elevator used to work. Can you believe that, Webster?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way I could carry all these screens upstairs, right? I used to carry around these two computers here that you see in the background and this big monitor here. Yeah, those were not good days. This is on study tour. I went on I think this is Martinique. Yeah, this is Martinique with some of my classmates, right? And I'm always walking around with the webcam and doing that kind of stuff, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about some of my experiences, and I'm hoping that I can tell you to get you to avoid some pitfalls. That's me over there presenting this presentation here. All right. I'm not going to go into everything because I kind of went through this already, but you can come on this whiteboard anytime. I am involved in a couple things. You can check these out whenever you have the time. Of course, I teach at UTech. I do a bunch of tutorials, and I used to do tutorials long before COVID. I run a visualization company, and I'm pretty much into visualization. These are all links, so you can actually check them out there. So what we're going to dive into is talking a little bit about image size and printing and that kind of stuff, because this is your future, right? Gabriel, your future will be printing and trying to print on time and to not print blurry work that you spend so much money printing and then it comes out looking horrible and then you have to print it again. So my job is to help you guys to prepare for doing that, right? I carried one of my experiences here. This is a master's presentation. This was actually my master's presentation. And I usually ask the question, can any of you guys, is anybody on Mirrorboard? One or two people are on Mirrorboard. All right, cool. Can anybody guess, anybody who is not on Mirrorboard, guess how much sheets this is?
Sir, 6.
6 sheets, all right. Any other guesses?
Sir, 1.
Sir,
Okay, 1 sheet. What are you saying, Raheem? What's your guess?
9 sheets.
9? All right, cool.
Yeah.
How much to print 1 sheet? Oh, well, we never print last year. But I'm sure you guys print a sheet already. But how much do you think to print? Anybody print a sheet recently?
Sir.
What was that, Ryan? You said no,
No.
or you give? Oh, all right.
No.
All right. Well, it's probably going to be around 500 to 600 per sheet. Anyway, for this particular presentation, this was a total of 21 sheets. Right? What you say, Jessica? Not cheap, right?
Not at all, sir.
Yeah. But don't get scared. This is for masters. So, you have a little bit of consideration to do before. But on average, going from third year, I think I don't have a picture of my third year presentation. For me, I went to school, I took a long gap, about 10 years, and did all sorts of stuff, and then kind of came back later. But so I don't have any of my earlier sheet printing stuff. And maybe if I did, I wouldn't show it because horrible days. Anyway, but on average, maybe you're printing around 3 sheets. Maybe in fourth year, you're printing about, I see some people have 6, usually is 4, right? It's about 600 per sheet. I mean, if you want to round it off to about 500, right? Actually, maybe that's student pricing, right? So if you know you go to a regular place, it's like $800 a sheet or something. The point of what I'm getting at, it costs a lot of money to print, right? And I remember I had to print this twice because I had to print it for an interim, and then I had to print it for my final crit. Granted, for the final crit, if there's nothing wrong with the sheet, you could keep it, right? So I remember printing this, and it wasn't exactly fun. I mean, it was fun to know that this is the last presentation and then I would be done with CSA, but it wasn't fun to print it. And one of the main things I want to highlight is, you know, not necessarily about the cost, but about the quality of the print. If I zoom into this, you can see that these are different sheets. I put some dash lines here. Some of them are big sheets, like actually all of these are 24 by 36. Yeah, I think I did some 24 by 48 for maybe 1 or 2 of them. I don't remember which one now, but it's pretty much all 24 by 36. And you can kind of see where they join together. My question to Jonathan. Is Jonathan here? Is Jonathan here?
Yes, sir.
All right, Jonathan, you found the unmute, right? So I'm looking.
Yes, sir. I found the unmute, sir.
You found the unmute. All right, cool. You wasn't running from outside. Somebody never called and said, "Yo, Jonathan, teacher, call you." Quick. Anyway, so you heard my story about printing this, right? And one of my main images was this one here. This was a rendering I did. I modeled it in Revit and I did some photoshopping and all of that stuff, right? And I did it on my laptop at the time. And I still have this image here that I want to show you. If I can get this folder. Come on. Just give my computer a little while to load this stuff from Drive. All right, here we go. All right, so if I can find this image. Okay, it's in a folder somewhere that I can't locate, but this image is about 3000 pixels by 1686 pixels, right? So oh good, I can just download this actually. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Right. Yeah, I think I'm actually I think I'm encoding a video from the previous class in the background. That's why computer is moving a little bit on the slow side. Okay, here we go. Finally. All right. So here is the image. So most of you here use Windows. So when you open an image in your Windows Explorer, this is kind of what it looks like, right? So you open this picture here, and you can always, in Windows, right-click and go to File Info. And when you look in File Info, you will see these specs here. And Jonathan, you can see that this image is 3000 pixel by 1686.
Yes, sir.
So my question to you is, for my presentation, right? And if I just take like a photograph here. So this is my presentation here now, and well, it's not exactly my this was the setting, right? Do you think this resolution is good enough? This resolution at 3000 by 1686 pixels at 72 dpi. Do you think that is sharp enough? So when I print it, everything looking nice. Keeping in mind that
Sir,
I probably spent
moderate.
I probably spent this sheet, because you know the more color them charge you more. So I think this sheet was like about 1,500 for this sheet. I think so. The rest of them did still cost money, but them charged me more because this was full color, right? Yeah. So what you say? You think it's moderate?
I think it's a moderate quality. I would try and bump it up to more of an 8K, just to really get the full pixel density.
Ah, and what is
So when
8K?
it prints out, it's actually
like what result? Because we're talking about numbers here. So this is 3000 by 1686. When you say 8K, about how much we're talking about?
I don't
You don't have
remember
to be
the
like precise, yeah.
but I would say something like 3000 something by 2000 something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember the exact number for 8K, but I'd try and bump it up a little more so that you could really see every single pixel, every single point, without any blurring or anything like that. So really,
All
like,
right.
get the pixel density just right.
All right, cool. That's a fair enough aim. All right. What about Khalifa? What do you think? You think this image is good enough? How you know? Like, is this image sharp? You hear, Leslie? Is Khalifa here? Finding the mute button? Oh, somebody rang to call him. All right. Until Khalifa comes. All right. What about Powell? Is Powell here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. What do you think of this picture? I plan to use it from a headline image from a studio presentation.
Sir, I feel like there's too much going on.
Yeah, but not about the image. I'm just talking about the quality.
I
So
don't. I'm not sure if it's just blurry on my screen, but
Oh,
the
it looking
quality
blurry
isn't
for
too
you.
good.
Yeah. All right, no problem.
Yes, sir.
Hold on a second. Let me increase this thing here. So, all right. I'm supposed to look sharper, right? So we're just saying that this image is 3086. Sorry, 3000 by 1686 pixels. In your opinion, is that a good enough picture to show to put on to print on a 24 by 36. This is my most expensive sheet that I'm going to have. What do you think? Powell considering. Gianna say I need a stronger GPU.
Yes, sir. Those.
Okay, cool. Gianna, like how you're offering to buy me a new GPU. What do you think about the resolution of this image?
Sir, I can't give you the number details because I turned a bit late.
Okay.
But the image looks sharp on my end. I think if you're supposed to print it bigger, maybe it would also still keep its quality.
All right, fair enough. So I asked a couple of people. I can't ask everybody. Before I go continue, does anybody else have an opinion they want to share about the resolution of this image? I just open it up in Windows and just look at the information. And Windows tell me that this is the information here. Anybody else? No.
Sir.
Sir, to be honest, I'm not sure as to what to think about these numbers that you're talking about. But the resolution does look nice though.
Well, okay. Now, my mission for you guys, at least for the next week or more, maybe this class or next class, we might split it because we have other things to do. But I want everyone here to understand what the numbers mean. Meaning, I want you to know from a scientific standpoint, well, don't be scared of that word scientific, but like, I don't want you to guess and spell that, yeah man, the image sharp man, and then when you print it, it's like, oh boy, did I just spend $2,000 to print this sheet? It can't work, right? I want you guys to know what does it mean to have an image be sharp, right? And spoiler alert, no image is sharp and none is blurry. Those words technically don't exist, which is a weird thing to say, right? So we're going to learn a little bit more about why I said that, and we're going to look a little bit more into this image, into this resolution and a whole, right? So here we go. So I just was showing you this picture here. This is what your typical studio situation would look like, and you have to print multiple sheets. These, for those of you who just joined, that is me, yes, and these are some sheets. This is a studio presentation I did, 21 sheets, right? So I want to talk a little bit about image size and a little bit about how Windows lists. How do you know if an image is sharp enough, right? So every image has a resolution. So there are three terms that I want us to get familiar with, and those terms are gonna be, zoom in here. Sorry to be jumping all about place. I'm just trying to get my bearings right. There we go. So we're gonna talk about DPI, right? Anybody know what DPI means? Anybody? DPI?
I think it's
That's per inch.
Dots per inch. All right. How come it take you so long to Google that, man?
I want to remember the first part of it.
Nah, you remember the first part? Okay. It's fine to Google, guys. As a matter of fact, Google is such old news now. Nobody's Googling everywhere, and everybody is AI. But anyway. So we're going to talk about DPI, resolution, and size, right? These three things here. There's a couple more terms to know, but I want you to have the confidence that when you're talking about image and image size, you know what you're talking about. Because even when you walk into a printry and you say, I want this to print, and you ask, are you going sharp? And then the printers probably ask you, is it 300 DPI? And you say, yeah, man. They say, all right, yeah, man, take a sharp. Of course, that is not necessarily true. So the first one we're going to look at is going to be resolution, right? And resolution, where is my marker? There we go. Yes. Yeah, we're going to look at resolution. So I have here Photoshop open. And these are just a bunch of projects. So this is why my Photoshop is looking a little different. Anyway, that image that I showed you earlier, I'm going to open it up. By the way, this project is a business incubator, right? And what that is a place that you go to start up businesses, right? Business incubator. Anyway, so this is that image that I showed you earlier, and I just opened this image in Photoshop. And of course, this image is looking pretty sharp. And like a full screen. Yeah. And if I zoom in, then you might notice it's maybe starting to get a little blurry. Maybe you can't fully see it on the through the zoom. But let me zoom in some more. All right. And what do you guys realize is happening? You can tell me. What am I looking at here?
The pixels.
Exactamundo. You're looking at the pixels. And if I zoom all the way in, like all you see are these bunch of squares, right? And these are what are referred to as pixels. So when we talk about image size, when we talk about resolution, this is what we're talking about. How many of these dots make up an image? So in this case, there are 3,000 dots on the horizontal axis of this image, which is why the resolution says that it is 3,000, right? So remember, when I look on this image size here, it's here. It says that my resolution is 3,000 wide by 1686 high. So again, when I go into Photoshop here, Photoshop does show me, I have to minimize this, right? Right, Photoshop does show me all the little squares that make up this image, which is what you're looking on here. If I can zoom in some more. No, I don't make me zoom in some more. Anyway, that's fine. So those are little squares. Now, how big are these squares? That's what one must ask themselves. Like, it's all good and well to put squares together. The amount of square matters, but also how big the square is matters. And I want you to understand when I said what I said earlier, when no image is really blurry or sharp, because when I zoom out of this image now, then this is when it starts to look pretty blurry. Like this image here looks pretty blurry, but this image here looks pretty sharp. All right, do you guys understand that paradox? So obviously, if I zoom into the image, it is going to get blurry, because eventually I will see the pixels that make up the image. So the true definition of blurry is whether or not you are able to distinguish between pixels. Because then any image can be blurry, because you can always zoom into any image that exists. And eventually you will go down to the little squares, and then the image is no longer blurry, right? So we have to be careful about how we use the word blurry. And I would want to ask, I want to throw this question out opening for everybody then. What is the true measure of whether or not an image is blurry? Who can tell me? Based on my explanation just now. What is the true measure?
Sir, when the sharpness is low.
Good try, but no.
Sir, is it based on the amount of pixels?
Yes. The more pixels you have, the sharper the image will be, but the more you can zoom in. So, I mean, I could add 60,000.
Sir, is it based off of how easily identifiable the image is?
You're warm. You're warm, but you're not warm enough.
Sir?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be the visibility of each component within the photo from a specific distance?
You're warmer. I can't distinguish how warm you are. But yes, you're a little bit warmer, meaning closer to the answer. But more specifically, the distance that you are really determines how sharp an image. Because if you think of it this way, that an image is not really blurry, it just happens to be blurry because you can identify the pixels that make it up. If you can't identify the pixels, the image will be sharp. So when you talk about distance, this is why you see I have an image here and I drew a distance between one of the viewers here. Between one, no, let me use this guy here. Between one of the viewers and the page. This distance, let's call it distance. I don't want to scare anybody with math because I put X there, right? Right, so this distance. Because if I got up and walk up to one of these images in this circle here, it would look blurry. But if I'm far away, it's not going to look blurry. And it's the same thing for your cell phone. Your cell phone screen is sharp, you know, because it is smaller. Now, yes, the amount of pixels does add to how sharp an image is. The amount of squares that you can cram into a space determines how sharp the image is, but also how close you are viewing it also determines how sharp it is. So those two go hand in hand. So we spoke about resolution. So we know resolution is all about the squares, right? Now, DPI means dot per square inch. How much of those squares can I fit in a given area? So for those of you that have a give me one cheap phone. Not a bangers, but nobody uses bangers anymore. Even bangers nowadays is touchscreen. Right? A10. Right. So if you look on a Samsung A10 or is A15? I don't remember. Help me out, guys. Is the A10 the cheap Samsung?
Yes, sir. The A series usually.
The A series, right? Sorry, more affordable series, right? And of course, if I go to the other end of the spectrum now, like S20 something, right? And you hold the two of them in front of you, and the two of them are the same size. The two of them are directly in front of you. Chances are the S23 will look more sharper than the A10. And the reason for that is one of them managed to squeeze in more squares in the same area. Right? Right, guys? So this is why you can have an image looking further. So for example, if you wanted your cheap A10 to look just as sharp as the expensive S23, you just have to hold it further away from your face, right? What do you think, Brianna? You think that will work? Is Brianna here?
Yes, sir.
But on a serious note, the more expensive phone crams more pixels into the same area. And this is why we talk about dots per square inch or pixels per square inch. It's basically saying, how many dots can I fit into an inch? The more dots you can squeeze into an inch, the sharper the image will be, right? Even though you can still zoom in close. One of the Apple used to call their laptops Retina display, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term, because they don't really use it anymore. They just say 4K, 8K, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, everything is sharp. But they used to call it Retina display, and the reason for that is they claim that you cannot use your Retina to distinguish between pixels on an Apple display. Like when you look closely, you can't pick up any kind of blurriness, aka you can't pick up where the pixels are. So that's why they call it Retina display, to say that if you use your Retina, not a magnifying glass, not like Photoshop where you can zoom into the image, but if you use your own natural Retina to look on an image on their Retina display, you can't distinguish the pixels. Meaning that they have so much, let's say we cannot zoom into an image this close using our eyeballs. Our eyeballs only allow us to get a certain distance. Afterwards, it starts to get what? Blurry, right? Photoshop, on the other hand, doesn't have that limitation. You can zoom right into the pixel, no matter if you have 10 pixels or 10,000 pixels. You just need to have the memory to handle it, right? Right, Gina, you have to have the GPU to handle it, right? So by zooming into an image, you're able to pick up the pixels. In real life, though, the measure of if an image is sharp is if your eyeballs can't pick up the pixels. So I don't know if any of you ever do a assignment yet, maybe for history, and you find an interesting picture and you put it on the front cover of your essay or whatever, and then you send your essay to print and then you look at it and it's like, Lord of God, it looks blurry. But it never looks so blurry on the computer screen. And of course, the reason for that is that the dots that make up the computer screen, meaning the pixels that make up the computer screen, is more, it is not as dense as the dots that make up the ink that prints on the paper. So this is why you can look on something on a computer screen and it can look sharper, but when you print it, it looks more blurry. Think about, examples are becoming harder and harder because things are just becoming better and better. Anybody ever see a CRT TV? What do I mean by CRT, Anya? Anya here? Read? No Read? All right, until Read comes. Aline. Is Aline here? Parent? No? Oh, let me also check on
Sir?
the as well. Ah. Oh, yes.
Sir, I'm
this is
recording
Jason.
Aline.
Say again?
Yes, sir, I'm speaking off of his microphone.
Oh, okay. Right. So, and remember, if you're not getting me on your microphone, you can also type. Right? This goes for anybody. Right. So, I was saying that if you know what a CRT television or CRT screen is,
A CRT screen?
Yes, CRT.
I do not, sir.
I see Gianna have her hands up.
Sir,
And Matthew.
I googled it.
You googled it. No
It's a
problem with Googling.
cathode ray tube. But sir,
AKA?
my grandparents see CRT. My grandparents used to have that TV, and I remember watching cable on it. So.
All right, good. All right. So yes, I think that's what Matthew was about to say. So the CRT screen is the same as I'm gonna find a picture here of this guy. Right. So in the background of me here in CSA, these are CRT screens. The big back TV, as some people call it. Anyway, the point I'm saying is that those televisions had some huge pixels, meaning the dots that make up the screen, right? If you try to compare, let's say when you go to buy a TV nowadays, you see the word 2K written on it, or you see the word 4K, that's a popular one, right? Or you see HD. So when you see the term 4K, it means that it has 4K mean 4,000, K for kilo. So you have on average close to 4,000 screens on the horizontal, 4,000 pixels on the horizontal axis. What do I mean by that? If I should go back to Photoshop here, remember these squares that make up the distance here. So they are 4,000 pixels. Now, here's the part where you should not get confused. In the world of digital, everything is all about pixels. So when you buy a television that says 4K, it means that it has 4,000 pixels. Let's just call it 4,000. It's not exactly, but let's call it 4,000. It has 4,000 little lights going from one end of the TV to the other. That is what you buy. That is what you spend your money on. There are 4,000 little lights there. Just like how in Photoshop, when I zoomed in, you saw these little squares, right? On the television, these squares are represented by little lights, these little diodes. Somebody had a question? No? Or was a loose mute hand? Right. So a 4K TV has 4,000 points, 4,000 light diodes. A CRT TV has about 500, right? So if you have, so think about it this way. You buy, I'm going to make it, you buy a 30-inch 4K TV, or you use Gianna's 30-inch CRT TV at our grandmother's house. Both of them are the same size, right? And this is where we start getting into the conversation about size. Remember, we were talking about resolution. Where were we? We were here. We're talking about resolution. So now I'm talking about size, right? So Gianna, of our 30-inch TV from our grandmother's house, but who was it? No, I don't remember. But one of you have a 30-inch 4K TV that you just buy from Quartz, right? Hopefully you buy it cash and you never take it out and hire purchase, right? Which one of those televisions you think would look sharper? Maybe that's a too much easier of a question.
The smaller one, sir.
The smaller one, which is, well, hold on, what do you define as smaller? Both of them are the same physical size. Let me bring up
repeat it one more time, sir.
Let me bring up the example here. So let's say you have 30-inch CRT TV, right? Gianna, you can tell me if your grandmother TV did look something like this, right? Maybe not exactly, but you know, this
Yes,
is
sir.
OG TV,
Yeah.
right? Versus a 30-inch 4K TV, right? Which is your typical TVs that you would find at your, you know, at your electronics store, like one of these guys. The trick is that this down a little more. We don't need to see the old current there. Yeah, right. So the trick is that and by the way, guys, whenever you measure size, it's always diagonal when you're talking about television. So this here is 30 inch, and this here is 30 inch. Both of them are 30 inch, but this is 4K. I don't even know what to call this, and this is 0.5K. I know that doesn't exist, but technically that would be the size, right? 4K versus 0.5K, because these televisions had about 512 pixels, and your 4K TV has, I mean, if you want to be scientifically correct, 3860? No, 3840? Oh Lord, I don't remember. You know what? Let's just call it 4000. Right? So 500 versus 4000. So my question was, if I am watching a local TV station, which one of these will be sharper?
Sorry, the 4K?
Because it have more pixels.
Yeah, higher screen resolutions.
Right, higher resolution, more dots. Now, the interesting thing about this is that if you watch an old-time movie, give me a what you would call an old-time movie, because my old-time here the time. Yeah, but enough James Bond. You have a new one, them, and they have the old
Pretty
one.
Woman, sir. Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman. All right. So if you're watching Pretty Woman, right? No, hold on. We know Pretty Woman because some people might not know Pretty Woman, right? I don't know if Leon, you know Pretty Woman, the movie? Maybe not. Maybe not. All right.
What is it, sir?
All right. Let's say we're watching Matrix. Matrix is not that old. Matrix is what year? About 2010? I don't remember. We might go a little bit older, but let's say you're watching Matrix. If you're watching Matrix on the 30-inch big back TV versus Matrix on the 4K, Matrix will actually look nicer on the older TV. When I say nicer, it might look smoother. I think that's the best way to put it. And the reason for that is the less pixels you have is the more the image is more blurry. You can kind of think of it like this image in Photoshop, where this image looks a little blurry. If the original image was low resolution and you watch that on a high resolution screen, it is going to look 10 times more horrible than if you watch it on a low resolution screen. So this is why if you take an old-time video game like a Nintendo or something like that and you play it on your new 4K TV, it looks horrible. But if you play it on Gianna's grandfather TV, it looks pretty. And the reason for that is the more pixels you have is the more you can pick up. You see the blemishes more, let's put it that way. Think about makeup. When you smudge makeup on your face appears to be smoother, right? And that's basically what is happening there. So at the end of the day, we talk about size and pixels. So as TV get newer, they manage to cram more pixels, but in the same area. Then the content that is shown on TV also increases. So you have to think of this both ways. The device that you're watching has a DPI. It has a limit to the amount of pixels it can show on screen. The content that you're watching on the device also has a DPI. It has a resolution. So I want you to think of it this way, that when you watch local TV is being broadcasted at maybe 720. That's the horizontal resolution, right? But when you watch Netflix, it's being broadcasted in 4K. If you watch Netflix on Gianna's grandfather TV, it's going to look the same. It's going to look like, you know, it will definitely look sharper on the 4K TV, right? But if you watch local TV on the 4K TV, it's going to look way more horrible than when you watch it on Gianna's grandfather TV. So I want you to think of this in terms of, you have the content that you're producing, and then you have the device that you're viewing the content on. And that is also how printers work. The printer itself has a limit to the amount of DPI, a lot of dots per square inch. And then the thing you made to be printed, meaning the Photoshop thing that you made to be printed, or the photo that you took with your phone, that is digital. So that also has a certain amount of pixel. So you have to match the source content with what you're viewing it on. Those are two completely different ratings. So you can't say you're watching a 4K Netflix show, and if you're experiencing that 4K Netflix show but on an old-time television, then you're not seeing it in 4K. So like all of those extra pixels are just wasted, because you have 4,000 pixels, but you're viewing it on something that can only show you 500 pixels. So you're basically throwing away most of the pixels you have. So I want you to think of that now as when you're producing work in Photoshop or Illustrator, or you're rendering something in Lumion. When you produce something from Lumion or from Photoshop, you produce it at a certain amount of resolution, right? Number of squares. But when you print it, your printer has a built-in limit to the amount of, let's call it, dots that it can print. So that is what DPI is. DPI is kind of the limit of whatever you're viewing the device on. So if the trick with DPI is that if you were watching Gina's grandfather television, right, and you sat further away, hold on, what happened to Gina's TV? Where did it go? Here we go. Right. If you sat at a farther distance and you look at both of these screens, you wouldn't know the difference. Anybody ever walk up and close to a billboard that then pass on the road? When you're driving past the billboard, it looks like a billboard. But if you ever walk up close to a billboard and look at it, you can see all of those pixels, and that billboard is no longer quote unquote sharp. So the big catch here is all about viewing distance. And that's like one of the most underrated things. People talk about resolution and DPI and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if you're far away from the source of whatever you're looking, then that whatever resolution or DPI don't even necessarily matter, right? So we talk about DPI, and we know that DPI is kind of the built-in limit to the amount of dots or points of anything. Your phone has a DPI, your screen has a DPI, your printer have a DPI. You know, at the end of the day, in order for you to see an image, they are made up from dots. That is just the world the world of display that we live in. Everything is made up of dots. The more dots you can cram together, the sharper that display will be. But the content that you're viewing in those dots also has to be equally sharp, right? And the last thing that we spoke about was size. What is the size that you're cramming these dots into? So we're going to put this in a more practical use now. Our original question was, how do I know that when I print this image, it will be quote unquote sharp? Remember, that was the original question. And we already discovered that sharpness is very relative. If I walk up to the image, it's going to be blurry, but if I sit far away, it's going to be sharp. So we need to define sharp by what, Ian? How do we define sharp? By?
Pardon?
How do we define sharpness? By what? Starts with a D.
By with the TV? Is it what we just spoke about?
Right. Distance.
Okay, DPI. Oh, distance. Yeah.
Right. How close are we to the source or how far away? Right? I kind of give away that one free. You see it. But guys, you never know when I might call on you, right? Right, so we speak about distance. If I'm close to the print, I'm going to notice that it's blurry. If I'm far from the print, it's going to appear to be sharp. So, whenever you produce any kind of content, one thing you have to think about is how close or how far you view it. Now, the secret formula to knowing whether or not this image is sharp enough and not spending your money to print something only to find out that it is blurry. Or let me put it another way. Let's say, Ian, what kind of phone you have, Ian? I'm not putting you on the spot. Even it no matter if you don't have the most expensive.
I think it's a 12. iPhone 12.
Like an iPhone 12. So Ian, if you wanted to take a picture of, let's say it's your site, and you wanted to show a photograph of your site, right? How do you know that when you take a picture with your iPhone 12 and you go to the printers and you say, all right, then I want to print this picture that I've taken off my iPhone 12 on a 24 by 36. How do you know if that resolution is sharp enough? Like on your tiny little phone, it looks pretty sharp, right? But when you transfer that to a 24 by 36, how do you know that it's not actually going to be blurry? If you just look at the numbers and you go into your iPhone settings and it says, oh, well, this image is 5,000 by 8,000 pixels. That's your resolution. How do you really know if when I print that on a 24 by 76, it won't look blurry? Or I might just, if you're presenting, you might just have to say to your audience, could you stand all the way to the back so that you can't see how blurry this image is, which you don't want to do. So the secret for that is, how do I know the size? How do I know the size that I want to print? Well, size is equal to resolution divided by DPI. And that is the secret formula right there. All right. Anybody get scared already and like, hold on, I thought we came to do graphics. Why are we doing math? All right. But we understand basic math, right? So that means that if I want to know how big something should be, all I need to do is to divide. All I need to do is to divide. All I need to do is to not mark on the Zoom page. Thank you. Good. Right. So all I need to do is to divide the resolution by the DPI. And we defined all of these things already. We know what the size is, we know what resolution is, and we know what DPI is. So let us apply this to the original question that we had here. So remember, our question was, how do I know if this image that I rendered from Lumion or wherever, that when I render this image and I print it out, it will be sharp enough? Well, firstly, you're trying to find the size. And you're saying to yourself, how do I know the size is big enough or small enough? So this is what we have in question. Now, what is the resolution? Let me put this up here. Denzel, are you here? Come help me out now, Denzel. I want to use this formula here to know if this image is sharp enough. Are you here, Denzel?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. So I want to find out size, and I need to know my resolution. What is the resolution of this image?
The resolution?
What's the resolution?
It's the 300 by 1686.
Right, 3000. What does the 3000 represent?
Can you repeat that, sir?
What does the 3000 represent? Denzel not getting off this season.
Would that be the length of the image?
I'll give you half a mark for that because I used the word length, but I understand it would be how much square pixels are in a horizontal distance, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, good, Denzel. You answer. You get half mark, but that still can't pass, right? All right, cool. Now, I want somebody to tell me, what does the 1686 represent?
That's the vertical length, sir.
That's the vertical
of the
length.
image.
Right. So, whenever we're working out size, we need to know the size of the vertical and the size of the horizontal. Right? Put an H there. Right, because if we're trying to figure out, what size image does this resolution fit in? We need to know, okay, what height and what width. So we have to run the formula 2 times. We have to run one to find the vertical height and one to find the horizontal width. So it's equal to resolution over DPI. So let me work out the vertical height first. So I'm going to put these in 2 boxes here like that, and I'm going to put this guy over here like that, right? And this one over here is to find out the vertical size. So this is to find the vertical size, and this is to find the horizontal size. All right, good. So let me work with the vertical size. All right, who can tell me what number should I use in the formula to work on my vertical size? I'm doing the vertical first. So what resolution number should I use?
It's 1686.
All right, good. 1686. Here comes the trick question. What is my DPI?
The 72, sir.
Now that is absolutely the incorrect answer. And this is one of the biggest things that can throw us off whenever we're trying to print. As a matter of fact, I usually cuss Windows to say, why does Windows put 72 DPI? I mean, I kind of know, but it makes the whole thing a bit more confusing. Because the word DPI is right there when you look on any picture in Windows or Mac or whatever. But that's a different reason why they put 72 DPI. There's a different reason altogether. What determines the DPI? You remember what we said determines it? The what? Starts with a D. The
distance.
The distance. Exactly. Because remember, DPI is how many dots you can fit into an inch or in an area. If you are close to those dots, you will see them. If they are far away from you, it will look sharp. So, in a way, your DPI is determined by the experience of the viewer to your image. And there's usually a formula, well, I won't say a formula, a rule of thumb that we normally use, all right? And the rule of thumb is when you're looking on a billboard, here, when you're looking at a billboard, like this billboard that is here, which, did we do this billboard? No, we didn't do that one. No, this is just a random billboard from the internet. But we used to print these billboards, by the way, guys. So that, like when you see a development going up and you see a billboard there, that is also something that we do. We render the image, we model it and everything. And working out resolution was a big part of what we had to do because those billboards are huge, right? Now, the printer that prints a billboard usually can't print more than a certain amount of DPI anyway. So remember, we gave that example of the television where if you have a old TV and you put 4K footage on it, you're basically wasting the 4K footage. Like you won't see all of that detail. It would just look just like you're watching a local TV station. So the idea is that you wouldn't use a DPI that is more than what the device can give you. So if you go to Pear Tree Press and they say, hey, we have a printer that can print huge things and it is 200 DPI, right? Then you already know that that is the limit of that device. So the rule of thumb is that the further something is away from you, you use a smaller DPI. The closer something is towards you, you use a larger DPI. What does that mean? The closer something is, you cram more dots into it. The further away something is, you don't need to cram as much dots, or else you're just wasting all of that detail, right? And we can speak about wasting in another class, right? Let me go back to my thingy here. There we go. So for billboards, you want to use that DPI, right? And this is a rule of thumb that they use in the print world, guys. I swear I'm not making this up, right? Okay, for posters, you want to use between 150 and 300 posters. There we go. You want to use between 150 and 300. And for documents, you want to use 300 or more. But most printers can't print more than 300 anyway, so that's why I said 300. So I don't know if you've ever seen somewhere on the internet where it say, oh yeah, it's a document printed at 300 DPI, this is why. So, I'm going to say document. All right, so I'm going to now throw the question out again, right? If I am printing this image here that I'm going to use for my studio presentation. What category do you think this falls under? Who can tell me? For this scenario.
Your posters.
Exactly. And just in case anyway, just in case we forget, I'm going to ask Leon to remind us. Is Leon here? Leon? No? Not yet?
Yes, sir.
Leon, why do we use less DPI for posters compared to documents? This is a graded question. If you get it, you pass the course. You don't have to come no more class.
Internet now works too.
Oh, convenient. Yes, Catherine, go ahead. Or I don't know if it's Catherine or not. Go ahead.
Sir, billboards have. That's so upsetting. Billboards have less DPI than documents because they're bigger and it's easier for the human eye to perceive it than for a document.
I give you half, a little bit more than half. You needed to add some more words in there.
Sir, so the documents would need more detail to be perceived.
Why? Because?
Sir, because they're smaller?
No, not the reason I'm looking for.
Is it because of the distance that you're viewing them from?
Exactamundo. A billboard is far away, so you can never see those dots anyway. But the document is right in front of you, right? So you need to cram more dots in when it's closer to your eyes because you don't want your stuff to appear blurry. Like if your phone, you could see that your phone image wasn't sharp. No one would want to buy that phone. So people advertise, oh, it's sharp, it's whatever. And that's because they cram more dots into it. So this is why in the formula, this is a general rule of thumb, guys. It doesn't mean, it's like, hey, if you want to have a 300 DPI billboard, you can. It's not like you're going to go to jail for doing that. The question is, can you afford it? And we'll speak about that in the other class when I mean, can you afford it? So back to our formula here. We're working out the virtual size. So what is the DPI that we should use for knowing what size this image can be printed at? Can you tell me? What DPI should I use here?
Sir, 150.
150. And the reason I'm doing that is because
you could have it be deemed as a poster.
Exactly. And when you're viewing as a poster, your average viewing distance is going to be about... What's the average viewing distance? Go again?
Few feet.
That's a little close still, but okay. Two. What's the max? About how much? Let's make it up. Okay, to about 5 feet, right? I would maybe stretch it to 8 feet, right? So 2 to 8 feet, because you're either going to be 2 feet away or 8 feet away. You know, like think about the average scenario. This is your average presentation scenario. These persons are probably about 5-ish feet away. But 1 or 2 times your lecturer will get up and look on your page. You don't control how people will view something, you know. Well, ish. You don't control ish. Like if you put a billboard on the top of a building, I mean, only unless you're Spider-Man or something, you can't go up there and view the pixel, right? So you do have some amount of control, right? So about how close you think a document will be to your eyes? Anybody? on average? Give me a measurement.
12 inches.
Yeah, it could be about a foot. I mean, that would be like reading like this, but sometimes I read like this. So I would say about 1 to 2 feet, right? So 1 to 2 feet, right? Oops. And then for billboards, man, billboards, it's a big category. You can be even up to, I don't know, 100 feet. I mean, there are billboards on the side of buildings, you know? This is an interesting area, by the way, because I'm sure most of you, no, let me throw this question out. So what's a mural? Where does a mural fit into all of this? Like when you walk past, you know, Digicel brand up a whole line of wall. What is that? Anybody tell me? Is that a billboard? So it's like a poster, right?
Yes.
Right. So, but even though it's a poster, it's huge. Like, obviously, a poster is going to be, you know, like your typical 24 by 36 thing. But if Digicel is branding an entire elevation of a walkway, and you're going to be like 2 feet away from that walkway, but yet it is the size of a billboard. So that is a special scenario where even though you're dealing with a billboard, you would still use the calculation for poster. Would you use the calculation for document? There's no rule against it, but the key is, can you afford it? All right, so who can tell me the answer to this question? What's the vertical size?
$11.2.
11.2. So the answer, I need to make some more space here on my chalkboard. So the answer is 11.2 what? Inches. I'm giving away answers here because I'm shocked. All right, quick time. What's the other answer? What's the horizontal size?
Sure, 20.
Exactly, because we are dividing 3,000 by 150.
Sure, 20, sir.
Right. So the answer for that is 20. So the answer to my original question is, if I have an image that is 3,000 pixels by 1686, and I want to view this image as a poster, that is the missing part in the sentence, right? That I asked earlier. What size would this give me? To the point where my eyes won't perceive that this image is blurry. Well, that means that you can print this poster here at, you can print this poster here at at 11 inches by 20 inches. Now look at this image here and look in the green, in the gray area. Look in the green area. What is the size of a, well, I was about to ask you, what is the size of a 24 by 30 inch? Lawrence, what is the size of a 24 by 30 inch? Is Lawrence here with me? Dandre? I don't hear Lawrence.
Sure, that's a triple step.
Most certainly is, right? That means you're listening. Okay, so I am printing on a 24 by 36 inch, which is the average size of a paper. And I have this image here that is 3,000 pixels by 1686 pixels. I want to print this image as a poster. So that means that when I do my calculations, this image is 11 inches by 20 inches. So look at the size difference of this resolution to the size difference of what I want to print it on. So I'll go back to my original question that who did I ask it? Did I ask it to Ian first? Who did I ask? All right, it don't matter. Ian, it's you. What does this mean for this image, Ian?
What do you mean by what does this mean?
Yeah, what does this mean? The area in green is the page that is the size I want to print it at. But when I do the maths, it is telling me if I'm going to be the distance away of a poster, then this is the real world size of a 3000 by 1686 pixel image. So I can just stretch this image to be bigger, right?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, I don't know like the reason behind it, but I know whenever you stretch the picture,
when you stretch a picture, well, what happens?
It becomes less clear. I don't know like the reason behind it though.
Well, guess what? It's the same reason we started out in. When we looked at this image in Photoshop, it looked nice and sharp, right? But when we quote unquote stretch the image, it's the same as zooming into the image, right? And what happened when we zoom into the Photoshop image?
It becomes pixelated.
Right, because you were able to identify pixels, aka it's blurry. So that means that when you stretch an image larger than the ideal size it was meant to be viewed at, you're now going into the blurry zone. So that is how you know truly if an image is blurry. It is based upon how do you experience the image, and then how much pixels are in that image. So in this example that we showed you, the green area represents the size of the sheet, but the size of the image, according to our calculation, if we're going to be at the distance of a poster, on average, can remember that it is a range. We're not robots. It's not like you can tell your lecturers, hey, don't go closer than 2 feet to this image. You know what I mean? But on average, as a poster, you're going to be viewing it at around 5 feet. So that means that if we use that calculation, our image will be about this size. And if we stretch it bigger, then it will become more blurry because it's like we're zooming into the image. You're not giving it more pixels, you know. You're just making it larger for you to notice the pixels. So this is how you can know if, for example, you take a picture with your phone and you want to blow it up and put it on your studio sheet. How do you know that the picture that you take with the phone is going to be sharp when it's 10 times bigger? You just run the formula. You say to yourself, okay, how do they expect? Am I going to put this on a billboard, on a page, on a poster? Good. The real world height is equal to the resolution divided by the height. The real world width is equal to the resolution divided by the width. When you work that out, you get your answer. So now that I know that this is the real world size of this image, I will know that, hey, if I make this any bigger, it's going to be more blurry. Now, in reality, we normally set a rule of thumb, and the rule of thumb is don't scale an image more than twice its calculated size. So according to that rule, I can scale this up to 2 times and it will be kind of okay, right? Can anybody tell me why that rule exists? Why isn't it a hard and fast rule like, hey, Once you go one inch over the calculated size, you're dealing with a blurry image. Why? Unfortunately, I have to give this answer away because time is upon us, but it's because we're not robots. Right, Denzel? I can't tell you not to go closer than 3 foot to my printed work. Right, Ian?
Yes, sir.
Right. But I can assume that you will be in a certain range when viewing my work. I know that you won't be 100 feet away, and I know that you won't be 1 inch, well, 1 foot in front of it. I mean, you could be. And you could be 100 feet away. But the likelihood is that you're going to be somewhere between 2 feet and 5 feet. So that is why I can scale it anywhere up to twice its intended size. So all you need to do is operate with this rule of thumb, and you will never print a blurry image. And the truth is that most of us, when we put in stuff and we sheet to print, we don't really business about none of these stuff. We just kind of look on the resolution and it said 3000. You say, yeah, man, that big enough, man. And it said 500. You say, yeah, man, that big enough. The trouble is when you start running into limitations, like when you have to take a picture with your phone, like you can't control how much pixels your phone gives you, not unless you buy a more expensive phone, right? There are certain things that you just can't control. So,
sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we change that in the developer settings?
Very much no. You can change that by ordering a more expensive phone. But guess what? We'll continue this conversation in part 2 of when we will talk about image size. All right. As I said, we're going to be doing this for next week or 2 or so, depending. So don't worry about cramming all this information. What you need to remember from today's class is remember the formula, right? Resolution divided by DPI give you the real world distances, right? And just know that every image has a resolution. And just because it's at 10,000 pixels don't mean that you can print it on a billboard. All right. Okay. So that is it for a little discussion and for part 1 of talking about image size. I'll be grilling you on these questions a little bit in another class. But for now, we are going to be moving into talking about Photoshop, right? And in our working class, I will need you guys to have your Photoshop ready. And we're going to jump into exercise 1. Now, I'll give you the heads up. We're just going to jump right in. Don't worry about falling behind too much. Remember, there's going to be a recording afterwards, and it's going to be super annoying if you're watching the recording and I keep repeating the same thing over and over. All right, so you're going to be forwarding the recording over and over as well, right? So usually I will go back like once or twice, but other than that, just watch the recording and do the summary. All right? So just make sure you have your Photoshops and stuff ready because we're going to hit the ground running when you come back later. All right, guys? So that's going to be it for part 1. What was that? Oh. All right, guys. So I will talk to you again in the next couple of hours when I see you again at.
All right, sir.
Yes, when I see you later, right, in the evening. All right, guys, take it easy. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
All right, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. I wasn't here last week. And I saw that my name wasn't on the class list, so I was just checking.
Right. So all you have to do is jump over to the class website here, and just click the register for class here.
Okay.
Then,
okay.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.